Welcome back once again, all of my low carb friends, and for those of you who are here for the first time, welcome. We've got Halloween coming up just around the corner, just a couple weeks away, and so of course we have to learn how to make keto candy. Now I've already showed you a couple types of keto candy already. I've showed you how to make keto peanut brittle, keto caramel rolls, keto fudge, keto 5-minute chocolate, so I've showed you some keto candy, but today we are learning how to make keto Kit Kat bar substitutes and keto crunch bar substitutes. These are so easy and so good. You are going to love them. And if you want printable versions of these, you can check out my website at janetsdeliciouslowcarbkitchen.com. You can find printable versions of these recipes and other goodies there for you. And if you're new to the channel and you want to see lots of delicious, easy keto recipes, make sure you click that subscribe button and click the notification bell that's right next to the subscribe button. That way you can be notified every time I put out a new video. And if you want to help support the channel, make sure you scroll down in the description of the video. You'll see some Amazon affiliate links. Anytime you purchase anything using my Amazon affiliate link, a small portion will go to me, which will help to support the channel. Even if you don't want the item it routes you to, you can just type whatever you want in the Amazon search bar, and as long as you're using my affiliate link, a small portion will go to me, which will help to support the channel. And while you do all that, let's get cooking. In a medium mixing bowl, combine 4 tablespoons of almond flour. Now, if you can't have almond flour, you're allergic to nuts, you can use seed flour, such as sunflower seed flour or pumpkin seed flour. They taste great too. Add 1 tablespoon of cocoa powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, an 1/8 teaspoon of xanthan gum, and yes, you need the xanthan gum. This combines and holds all of your ingredients together, and 5½ tablespoons of powdered swerve. Whisk these all together until they're fully combined and there's no lumps in the powdered swerve or the cocoa powder. If you want, you can sift these in. That way you can be sure that all the lumps are out. But if you don't have a sieve, you can always just whisk it by hand like I'm doing right here. Also, if you don't want the center of your Kit Kat bar substitute to be chocolate, if you just want it a neutral flavor, instead of using 4 tablespoons of almond or seed flour, you can increase it to 5 tablespoons and then just omit the 1 tablespoon of cocoa powder. And then you'll have a neutral flavored center, because an original Kit Kat bar does not have a chocolate center, it just has a sweet wafer. So if you'd rather have that than the chocolate, you go for it. Once that's all whisked together and there are no lumps, add 2 tablespoons of butter that's been melted and cooled. Make sure it is cooled. Whisk the butter in until everything is fully combined and all the dry ingredients are moist. If you need to, you can get your fingers in there and push all the dry ingredients together. Sometimes little flecks of the dry ingredients don't want to get all combined with the whisk. So if you need to, get your fingers in there, push it all together, make sure all the dry ingredients are wet. Add 1 large room temperature egg white, just the white. Make sure it is room temperature, that way you have a smoother batter and it's easier to whisk in. If you're using liquid egg whites, you would need 2 tablespoons of liquid egg whites. Add a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract and whisk the egg white and the vanilla extract into the dough for about 2 minutes or until everything is fully combined and the dough is stretchy. It will be a little bit sticky. That's okay. That's the way it's supposed to be. But make sure you whisk it for at least 2 minutes. That way you know that everything is completely combined and that your dough will have a little bit of stretch. Once everything's combined, use a spatula or a spoon and scrape down the sides of your bowl and push all of the ingredients to the center of the bowl. Make sure there are no dry ingredients at all in your bowl. You want to get all the dry ingredients pushed together in one big clump. Once the dough is all combined, then cover it with plastic wrap and let it sit while you preheat your oven. You're going to preheat your oven to 350 degrees. Mine takes about 10 minutes to preheat to 350 degrees, so that's how long I let the dough sit covered. Make sure it is covered, otherwise it will dry out. So it was about 10 minutes for me, but however long your oven takes to preheat, leave the dough covered until your oven is fully preheated. While the oven is preheating, line and spray a large baking sheet. You do want to make sure that you line it and spray it. This is a sticky dough, so even if you're using parchment paper or a silicone baking mat, it still can stick a little bit. So make sure you don't only line your baking sheet, but you spray it also. Spoon the batter out about 1 tablespoon at a time onto your baking sheet. Then use your fingers or a fork and shape each scoop into a long, skinny rectangle. Now these do spread slightly from side to side, so you do want to make sure that you get your rectangles skinny. Mine are a little bit too fat, so when mine actually got done baking, I ended up cutting them in half, but fat rectangles are okay too if you want a wider Kit Kat bar. And they don't have to be perfect rectangles, you just want them to somewhat look like a rectangle. Also, if you want to make this a little bit easier, you can pipe these through using a piping bag. Just use a wide tip, and then after you've piped them into the length that you want, use your fork or fingers and shape them into a rectangle. Once they're all shaped, then place them into your preheated oven and bake them at 350 degrees for 15 to 18 minutes or until the edges are starting to get dark. They will still be a little bit soft, but they will crisp up as they cool. Once they're done baking, remove them from the oven and allow them to cool on the pan for about 15 minutes or until they get crispy. After 15 minutes, if they have not gotten crispy, you can pop them back into the oven at 350 degrees for about 3 to 4 minutes and then let them again sit on the pan until they crisp up. But generally, 15 to 18 minutes should be perfect. Mine actually took 18 minutes exactly, and then you let them cool for 15 minutes and they do get nice and crispy. Once they're crispy, transfer them to a wire rack and allow them to cool completely before you put the chocolate on them. They cool pretty fast because they are small, so you can leave them on the rack for about 15-20 minutes and they should be completely cool. If not, continue letting them cool until they are 100% cool. Line another large baking sheet with parchment paper and set that aside for a minute. And for the chocolate coating, in a shallow microwave-safe bowl, combine a half cup of Keto milk chocolate chips. I'm using the Lily's brand. You can use whatever brand you want as long as it is keto. And you can make this milk chocolate or dark chocolate or white chocolate, whatever chocolate you want. I'm using milk chocolate, Lily's milk chocolate chips. Add 2 tablespoons of coconut oil, and you do not want to substitute the coconut oil out for anything else. Coconut oil, when it cools, solidifies really well. Other oils do not. So it is important that you use coconut oil, otherwise your chocolate will not solidify properly. So once you have the chocolate chips and the coconut oil in your microwave-safe bowl, microwave on high for about 30 seconds. Then stir the chocolate chips and the coconut oil together until the chocolate chips are completely melted. If you need to, if you're stirring it and it seems like they're not melting all the way, if you need to, you can microwave it on high for another 20-30 seconds and then stir it again until the chocolate chips and the coconut oil are fully combined and smooth. Once your chocolate's all melted, place the cooled wafers one at a time into the chocolate and turn them several times to coat them completely with the chocolate. Once they're coated, place them onto the lined baking sheet. Then place them in the freezer for at least 15 minutes or until the chocolate has hardened. Now, it's best really to keep these in the freezer for a couple hours or even overnight because the chocolate does melt quickly. But if you're really wanting chocolate and you really want it fast, the outside will firm up within 15 minutes of being in the freezer. Once the chocolate is hardened, remove it from the freezer, Take out however many pieces you want, and whatever you don't eat, just store it in an airtight container. I keep mine in the freezer so that the chocolate stays hard, but you can also put it in the refrigerator if you want to, and eat and enjoy. For the crunch bars, lightly spray some candy molds, or if you don't have any candy bar molds, then line an 8x8-inch cake pan with parchment paper. Set that aside. Place about 10 to 12 whole pork rinds into a Ziploc bag and lightly squeeze the bag in between your fingers to crush the pork rinds into small pieces. Make sure you don't crush them too much because you don't want them to become crumbs. You can, if you want to, just put them in a food processor and just process it on low a couple times. The only thing about that is you run the risk of over-processing it real fast and it turning to crumbs. If you don't want to use pork rinds, you can use pumpkin seeds or sunflower seeds, or you can just chop up some almonds really fine. It won't give you the same texture as a crunch bar, but it'll still taste good and it'll still give you a crunch in your bar. Once they're into small pieces, then set them aside. For the chocolate coating, if you want a really easy chocolate coating, you can use the same method that we used in making the Kit Kat bar. You may need to double the chocolate coating recipe depending on how many crunch bars you want to make. Then pour the chocolate into each of your candy molds until it fills the candy molds about halfway. If you don't have the candy molds and you're using the cake pan method, then pour about half of the chocolate mixture into the bottom of the cake pan and spread it evenly throughout the bottom of the cake pan. Then top the chocolate mixture with your desired amount of crushed pork rinds and gently push the pork rinds down into the chocolate. Pour the rest of the chocolate mixture into each candy mold until it has fully covered the pork rinds. Again, if you're using the cake pan method, then pour the remaining chocolate over the pork rinds and smooth it out till it's covering the pork rinds. Place it in the refrigerator for 45 minutes to an hour or until it's firm. Once it's firm, remove it from the molds. If you're using the cake pan method, take a sharp knife and cut the chocolate into the size of bars that you want. Store these in an airtight container in the fridge until you're ready to eat them. And those are our recipes of the day. I hope you enjoyed them both. If you did and you want to see more videos like this, make sure you give me a big fat thumbs up like button. Hit that subscribe button. Leave me a comment if you want to. Let me know if there's any recipes that you'd like to learn how to make, and I'll do what I can to get those out there for you. And as always, keep cooking.